All right, we're at the last team of the evening. I'd like to welcome to the stage Practical Prosthetics.
Hello, we're Practical Prosthetics. Today, there are over 30 million people in need of ongoing prosthetic care globally. In the US alone, there's over 2.1 million people who live with limb loss, and each year, there's over 185,000 new amputations. Currently, when looking for a prosthetic solution, you really have two options. You could purchase a static prosthetic. These are generally built custom and provide only a cosmetic solution to limb loss. Functional prosthetics vary in complexity and can provide some utility to the user.
For both these options, the current market falls short for a variety of reasons. In terms of cost, static prosthetics can cost upwards of $10,000, and functional prosthetics can cost upwards of $50,000. This can total to a lifetime cost of over $823,000. The functionality that these devices currently offer is limited, lacks functionality, lacks customizability, and is not always reliable. In terms of appearance, many devices are not cosmetically appealing, and users are often forced to sacrifice appearance when looking for functionality. In terms of accessibility, the complex fitting and manufacturing processes create yet another obstacle in the limb acquisition process, and the difficult learning curve can make some devices hard to use and prohibit users from gaining proficiency altogether. In general, for those looking for a solution to limb loss, the biggest challenge becomes finding a device that meets their specific needs.
Our mission is to challenge the expectation that building a prosthetic needs to be complicated, that it needs to be expensive. Practical Prosthetics balances cost, accessibility, appearance, and functionality in order to allow our users to focus on what really matters. And that's living not impeded by their limb loss with a device that fully fits their needs. Here's how we're able to do this.
We have developed an independent control system for prosthetic devices. Independent, in this sense, means that our control system is not dependent in any way, shape, or form on the rest of the prosthetic device. This allows us to simply scale and adapt our prosthetic devices to any residual limb for any user, and then easily integrate our control system afterwards. In addition, our control system is simple and easy to use. Anyone can pick it up and begin using it immediately. This eliminates the lengthy learning curve typically involved in getting a new limb. Lastly, our control system allows our devices to be fully customizable. This customizability ensures that our devices will meet the specific needs of each individual user.
We have developed, as a team, a fully functional 3D printed prosthetic hand.
In the context of this prototype, our team has decided to implement our independent control system as a ring, one on the opposing hand to the prosthetic device. Simply put, the idea is that the user could press the button on this ring and activate functions on the prosthetic without limiting the functionality of this opposing hand.
Unlike leading myoelectric designs, each of the fingers on our hands can move independently, allowing our devices to perform a myriad of functions that are fully customizable for each user. Our independent control system is what allows our team to build our prosthetics uniquely. We choose to manufacture our devices at a low cost in order to remain the most viable for the most amount of people. We use simple technology. Our componentry is reliable and not experimental, and our control system is easy to use. 3D printing allows us to simplify the manufacturing and fitting process in order to speed up the time it takes to get our devices to those who need it. Lastly, we are not dependent on location, as we can print and assemble our devices on site. This allows Practical Prosthetics to have a more global reach than previously possible.
We are aware that our end users will not always be the ones paying for our devices. Here are the various distribution channels through which Practical Prosthetics will be able to reach these end users. We are appealing to insurance companies due to our low cost, proven technology, and reliability. We plan to partner with various organizations to go into developing regions that do not currently have access to this technology. Lastly, we are even capable of doing direct-to-consumer sales to give our end users a sense of comfort in this arduous process.
Using these distribution channels, here's the target market we will capitalize on. Our total addressable market are the 30 million people globally in need of ongoing prosthetic care. It's projected that 30% of these individuals live with upper limb loss, and that makes up our service addressable market. And our service obtainable market is 630,000 people. In our first 5 years, we plan to just focus on those living in the United States with upper limb loss. And these could be people with a static device, a functional device, or no device at all. After multiple iterations of our devices, we've developed a production cost of just $100. We plan to sell our products for an entry price of $950, which is 50 times less expensive than the average functional prosthetic on the market today. In addition, we plan to implement a yearly $300 service and warranty fee in order to ensure the quality of our devices and maintain a lasting dialogue with our users in order to keep making the best devices possible.
In terms of scalability, once we're established, we plan to scale beyond US markets and into all different types of prosthetic devices. We're even capable of applying our technology into other medical devices, such as casts, orthotics, and rehabilitation devices. We are on the forefront of innovative technologies such as computer science, additive manufacturing, and computer modeling, and we are choosing to apply this to the field of prosthetics. Being removed from the industry norms allows us to take a step back and view the problem from a more holistic point of view in order to come up with a solution that works now.
We have many conversations with leading researchers, medical professionals, and limb loss patients, and each of them have agreed that our technology has the ability and will disrupt this industry for the better. Our third generation prototype prosthetic hand was recently filmed in a video that will be featured in the upcoming TED DOA debates. Our hand will be highlighted as a prominent example of increasingly modern prosthetic technology. We've had many valuable conversations with limb loss patients and prosthetists, and we'll be incorporating their feedback hand in hand with them in order to make our devices the most viable and the best for our users. In addition, we are in the process of patenting our technology, and we'll be submitting our designs to the FDA for regulatory approval.
In addition, we have clinical testing set up for this summer at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York for not just our prosthetic devices, but how our independent control system can integrate into exoskeletons that can be used to aid stroke victims and muscle rehabilitation therapy.
With additional funding, we will be able to speed up the clinical testing process and continue iterating our devices to become market ready. The sooner we can get a market ready device, the sooner we can start making a tangible impact.
We are extremely excited about all of this and are looking forward to making this technology a reality for those in need of this care. Thank you.
Yep. So great to hear that you have a clinical research going on this summer where you'll be able to test this in a clinical setting. Talk to me a little bit more about what the risks are going forward as you try to, this is a exciting, challenging, and maybe even crowded market with all the different companies trying to push in the space. What are the risks that you see and how are you going to mitigate those?
Sure. So I think that something is important, obviously, in order to go to market, validating the product properly and doing the proper clinical testing with professionals is extremely important. I mean, trying to go to market too early with not the proper certifications or regulations is definitely a risk. It's something we're actively considering. Something we've also been talking about is not trying to take on too much at once. So right now we're starting with just our prosthetics and how the independent control system integrates into these exoskeletons. We see so much potential for how this technology can scale and expand into other medical devices, and we don't want to try to spread ourselves too thin at the beginning. So I guess the risk is we want to make sure we focus on something, more of a niche market that is accessible, is realistic for us, and set ourselves up for the future to expand.
Good answer.
Yeah, I would just say I went back after we met you guys and Googled, robotic prosthetic devices, and there's a lot going on. I mean, you know more than I. I mean, I spent 4 minutes on Google. So it is obviously a space where a lot of engineers, a lot of people are thinking about this. So I think the answer to your question is it's an important question. I think it's important that you think about it. I'll repeat the same thing, and I'd love to get your response to it. I think from the presentation and from the work, in terms of accessing the capital you're going to need to run the regulatory gauntlet, because remember, if you're going to make claims under from a regulatory perspective, that requires controlled clinical trials, requires filing with the FDA, requires good manufacturing practices in terms of manufacturing. So I guess I'd like to understand how you're going to access capital and how you think about those kinds of downstream issues in order to, quite frankly, see your first revenue off of a product like this.
Yeah, sure.
So we currently see our emergence into the market split up into stages. We're currently in the clinical testing stage, which will be beginning in early May. We were recently competitors in the Michigan Business Challenge and received around $17,000 of funding there, which will allow us to kind of go after getting this patent and make that patent be very comprehensive. In addition, continue starting to really develop this product out to where it can become market ready. With additional funding from Innovation Action, that's what we'll be able to do, continue iterating the devices to get it to the point where we feel comfortable going to market with it. After we get to that point, we plan to then take investments from various venture capitalist firms or investors in general to then use their resources to go to market effectively and really make a venture that succeeds.
I'd say good answer in terms of where you guys are now, but if you take this past the summer clinical testing and so on, I'd encourage you to bring somebody in who's really thought about the development of medical devices and the testing of those, the regulatory approval and so on. So you really have a granular sense of what it takes to move this through a very rigorous regulatory approval process. Sure. Expensive regulatory approval process.
I think we definitely have been, at least for now, trying to utilize the resources on our advisory board. We have a lot of professionals that are very knowledgeable, and for now that's been, I guess, sufficient in terms of getting us initial knowledge in this field. Going forward, we would definitely want to incorporate more of those individuals into the team and more of a role than an advisory role, and I think that's a great suggestion.
Gentlemen, great job. Thank you for taking on an issue that's costing the healthcare system a lot of money. So I really applaud you on that. Like the prototype, love the poise. You guys look like you work for Booz Allen. That being said, you'll witness a theme here between Steve's question, Edward's question, and mine. Would you ever sell out? Would you get the license, the IP, the patent, and then sell it to a major corporation?
I think an important thing, I guess, along with that question is, so as we discussed, the control system is our main proprietary element. It's what allows us to do everything else, but everything from there was really a choice. So we didn't have to make these devices low cost and really accessible, easy to use. We could have integrated this control system with any leading, expensive device, could be 50 grand, something like that. So these choices that we've made are things that we are passionate about, and so we would want to maintain that. So we do have the ability, instead of manufacturing our own devices, to integrate this control system in many different existing devices, whether that be a prosthetic device or an exoskeleton. But I think unanimously across the team, we agree that we would want to do that in a fashion that keeps it affordable and keeps it accessible, no matter what we do.
I feel like your team has a really good dynamic together. You clearly, like just answering questions, it's very clear you've kind of gone through all this and are well practiced at this. I think in the future you should give Edward a call because he's got a lot of experience, and I think he's now invested in having heard you a couple times, and never discount the value of the wisdom of the people who care about what you're trying to do and are here supporting you right now, because I hear these words like venture capital and would you ever sell to a company? And I mean, these guys are already like sharks. So just, be wary and talk to the people who are supportive, like this team right here, because they know a lot and they can really give you a lot of good advice.
I appreciate it.
And I guess we will say that Innovation Action, Michigan Business Challenge, the legal clinic here, all the resources in Michigan has really helped us, kind of advised us in the process of building a venture. None of us have started a business before. We're all active students, and we decided to use the resources here at Michigan, and it's been amazing, and we plan to continue doing that, continue reaching out to the Innovation Action community, as well as the greater Michigan alumni community as well to help guide us.
I don't think you're going to have to hire a chief sales officer. I think you guys probably have that covered. So,
Congratulations, you guys. Great stuff.
Thank you.